So many speculations have been going on in the city for months that Terry Fontenot, who's the general manager, and head coach Raheem Morris were going to be terminated. And then we saw that Rich McKay, that has been with the organization for a while, had sort of some change of duties. And so, Toro, let's just jump right in with the Falcons. And this is something that the fans have been waiting for to really hear from owner Arthur Blank. And one of the things that we heard in the press conference immediately is that he focused on the fans. And I am a lifelong Falcons fan. I remember buying my first season tickets in 1998. Back then, Toro, you could actually get season tickets for $100. So you get two preseason games, and then you get the eight regular season games. And then for a while, during the Vic era, everyone was just turned up because we were happy to have that. And of course, leading up to the Super Bowl in 2017. But let's start with his first, I think, sort of reaction and something that he quadrupled down on. That is saying, hey, we got to give the fans what they want. The fans deserve to be treated fairly. The fans deserve that we put together a team that can win. And he talked a lot about the sacrifices that we as fans make to attend or watch on TV or just to be a Falcons fan, which can kind of be a little bit of an emotional roller coaster. Not just this season, but every season we've seen probably for the last 10 or so years, but definitely since 2017.
Watching Arthur Blank speak today, he is a customer first kind of owner. Going back to, I read his book after he purchased Home Depot, he would always talk about customer first, customer first, customer first, because that's going to be the lifeblood of any of his businesses. And one thing that I know is that when when the team's performance floundered this year, we can go to the Carolina game in Charlotte in September. We could point to the Miami Dolphins game
Mhm.
where they just had no energy, no life, nothing at all. The Jets game
Mm.
on Thanksgiving weekend, um, inexplicably losing to the Jets.
Tampa Bay early,
Tampa Bay,
first
the
game.
first game,
Yeah.
you know, it got to a point where talking about the Falcons, the 8 months that they were not playing, was more entertaining than the 4 months that they were playing. The offseason was more entertaining than the actual on field play itself this year.
Because Terry and Raheem had put together a strategy that they were going to draft a quarterback and Michael Penix Jr. in the first round. And we knew that Kirk Cousins had a big deal, big money deal where he was actually there. And so, I think to your point, the offseason was such high expectations because of the talent that we not only have on offense, but the draft picks and the trades that were made to get us a defense. But Arturo, I
Absolutely.
just want us to go through this, man. And I am still not over 2017. I actually was at that Super Bowl, and I remember being there watching the team be up 28-3, and then leaving and seeing that confetti, that big sound when the confetti popped, and then walking out of the stadium and losing that game. But since the Super Bowl, we have had losing seasons. Let me just go through it for our listeners and our viewers. 2018, we went 7-9. 2019, we went 7-9. 2020, we went 4-12. 2021, we went 7-10. 2022, we went 7-10. 2023, 7-10. 2024, 8-9. And now again in 2025, we go 8-9. Which, by the way, we have a three-way tie for the NFC South. So by watching the press conference from Arthur Blank, tell us a little bit about how he really addressed the sort of vision that he had for Terry and Raheem, but then what happened throughout the season where he finally made a decision that after just 2 years of being the head coach, that he had to go in a different direction.
I want to start this off or start answering your question going back to that 2024 NFL draft. I was in Detroit that day when the pick was made, and the amount of shock and awe and gasp and like confusion after the pick was made to draft Michael Penix Jr. after he tore his ACL twice in
Hmm.
college, right? After signing Kirk Cousins to a $180 million contract, people said, okay, what's this all about? Raheem, Fontenot, and Mr. Blank all said the same thing, which was, we do not want to be in quarterback hell. Because
Right.
what happened before that? They had Marcus Mariota and Desmond Ritter. They weren't taking them anywhere. They knew a change had to be made. So they, in my opinion, they overcorrected the problem.
But correct me if I'm wrong. Kirk Cousins played last year in 2024. He goes down with an injury, and Michael Penix Jr. comes in at the end of the season, correct? And then Michael Penix Jr. goes through the entire training camp, and based on his performance, based on Kirk coming back from the injury, he was named the starting quarterback this year.
Correct.
I think it's fair to say, Toro, that Michael Penix Jr. had a good start to the season. While the wins weren't there, he wasn't turning the ball over a whole lot. But what I think got to the point was that he started sort of hesitating and not necessarily anticipating the throws, not throwing the ball. There were some times where we saw in the fourth quarter he didn't necessarily have control of the game clock and the huddle. So I think Michael Penix Jr. did okay. Then Kirk comes in, and we got to say this on the podcast. The Falcons went on a 4-game winning streak at the end, right?
Right.
And so a lot of people are saying that maybe Raheem Morris earned the opportunity to stay one more year, because you remember during halftime, there were people who were like wondering, why is he going up and doing the halftime show and kissing commentators
Andrew
on,
Whitworth.
Whitworth on the cheek. But then since then they beat the Rams, and we got to say this for this podcast. While they had some tough losses, they beat some really good teams. The Bills, they beat the Rams, and he goes 4-0, and they beat the Saints, and crushed the hopes and dreams of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So what do you say? And then how did Arthur Blank really address the fact that maybe some fans, while I think most of us felt like, okay, we need to do something, the timing was a little earlier than we thought. But there are some people out there that felt like winning those last 4 games, did Raheem Morris deserve one more year?
Winning those last 4 games, it rings hollow to me, because those last 4 games, yes, everybody gets paid, but at the same time, the pressure was off at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Kirk played well, but also Kirk knew he's likely not going to be back here at the start of the league year in March. So he was just trying to make sure all his guys put enough good tape out there so that they can go get paid at the next destination. I was at my favorite sports bar that night, and there were people who were like, well, 2 years isn't a lot of time.
It's not.
It's not a lot of time. But then when you go game by game, we'll take the first year. The first year, perfect example, that Washington game in D.C. in December.
I was there.
Division
It was
on the
cold.
line.
Yeah.
Cold,
wet, and
wet,
cold.
miserable night. Raheem Morris mismanaged the clock. He mismanaged timeouts. And as somebody who is, quote unquote, the CEO in a CEO role, you have to understand game management. You have to understand the clock. You have to understand situationally when your rookie quarterback needs that head coach to understand, like, okay, time, distance, timeouts, the whole thing, because there's already so much in his head.
I thought that Arthur sort of said, and correct me if I'm wrong here, that the decision was made based on the vision.
Yes.
The division wasn't working. So take our listeners and viewers in. What did he talk about? What made him make the decision to move right after the last game of the season? What transpired during the season that he saw the division wasn't working anymore?
He said that after he retained the services of the search firm Sportology, he said that the organizational structure was flawed. The organization and the vision, Raheem's vision and Terry's vision, were flawed.
Flawed how? Because they basically had Kirk and Michael Penix Jr. there with the quarterback situation, or was it flawed because of the decisions they made regarding the draft picks,
It
or
was
this, or did Raheem lose the locker room?
according to some players, Raheem didn't lose the locker room.
Okay, because
Bijan
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 came out
loved
right away.
came
Yeah,
out right
yeah,
away and said,
and Drake,
and
Drake
Drake
London. Yeah,
loved Raheem, all that good stuff. But at the same time, this whole thing hinged on the fact that Michael Penix Jr. could not get injured again or suffer a major injury again.
mm-hmm,
You're going into an offseason where your quarterback will be unavailable until at least August
mm-hmm.
with another ACL reconstruction surgery. His third one in 5 years. You have no first round pick. You traded it to the Rams to get James Pierce Jr. from the University of Tennessee. Now, granted, James Pierce balling this year,
Yeah, he showed
right?
up. He earned that first. He earned that first
Earned
round pick.
earned it. Earned it.
That
You
trade. Yeah,
know, he Jalen Walker from UGA
yeah. Go
balled
dogs.
this year,
Go dogs. Yeah.
right? So again, like the defense wasn't the issue here. The issue is that the main linchpin of their whole plan is now undergoing reconstructive knee surgery.
But that's interesting, and I think that some folks will agree with you. Some folks would think that it's probably because of the games that we lost this year, and I hear a lot of people talk about how Raheem's sort of body language, his demeanor. He doesn't really, he's
He's
pretty,
not expressive.
yeah, expressive. I mean, win or lose, he's there. I think the first time we saw some real emotion out of him was when they came back and won at the last minute against Tampa, and he looked into the camera. Well, listen, we are going to watch what's happening here closely, but I cannot go on. We're going to have to be brief because we want to get on to the Hawks. But we cannot leave this podcast and not talk about Matt Ryan. Now, let me tell you how I feel about Matt Ryan.
Let's go.
I don't know if Matt Ryan is the answer to put him as a potential candidate. As we were talking, he's a candidate for the front office. Arthur Blank did disclose that in his press conference. But, I felt like having Matt kind of in the stands, showing him on the Jumbotron during the season, they were conditioning us to do this. But I'm telling you, I think I speak for a large segment of people that we felt like losing that Super Bowl, and then the seasons after the Super Bowl, that Matt Ryan, to me, cannot be at the top of the list as far as finding a president, right, that's going to come in, because you shared with me earlier, the president, based on what Arthur said, is going to have the authority to have the head coach and the general manager report to them, correct?
That's right.
So I don't know if I'm just still not over that loss. I'm still not over him as a quarterback. There were some things he did great, but there's a lot of things he did not do great. So real quickly, let's kind of take our listeners and viewers in how maybe the possibility of Matt Ryan having some type of influence or position in the front office could affect this upcoming season.
If Matt Ryan is hired as the president of football, that will be, now granted, before I go any further, I must qualify that by saying this. There's a lot of guys, they have relationships in this National Football League.
Mm-hmm.
Matt Ryan knows a lot of people. However, this seemed, based on what Arthur said, this isn't a figurehead position. This isn't a public facing, but I know Arthur will want dual roles, like you want to be utilitarian and handle the football stuff, but also be the face of the team in the community and the lunches and the dinners and the breakfast and all that stuff. But the bottom line is this team has not made the playoffs in 8 years.
Yeah, bad.
The only team that has missed, that has had a longer playoff drought than the Falcons are the New York Jets.
Yeah, I saw that.
So he has to get this thing right. And if it is Matt Ryan has to put ego aside, BS aside, and favoritism aside, because you have a fan base that's crying out for a winner right now.
Yeah.
You have a fan base that's crying out for a winner right now. And a lot of coaches have been let go in the last 72 hours.
Yeah. And there's a lot of good coaches out there.
A lot of good coaches.
And I think there are some good candidates out there for president of the team and president of operations that we can look at. So, we'll wait and see how the fans react. It's been kind of quiet right now, but I know that amongst my crew of people, the majority of them are not Matt Ryan fans. Now, there are those who will say certain things and they'll try to go down the stats with me and that one season or two. But I just think we got to fully vet and fully explore this
Right.
situation.